He drained our joint account and called it a fresh start, and that was just the beginning. The sun hit my face like a slap. I was still in bed, but everything already felt off. My phone buzzed once, just once, but that was enough. I squinted at the screen. "I'm leaving. Don't try to find me. The money's gone. I needed a clean break." Nothing else, just that. From her. I sat up so fast I knocked the lamp off the nightstand. It shattered. Somewhere in the kitchen, the coffee maker gurgled. Routine mocked me. I opened our banking app. $0. I blinked. Refreshed. Refreshed again. Nothing. Gone. Her name was on the joint account. She had full access, and she knew exactly when my salary would land. Every second Friday, 8:04 a.m. Like today. The account had been emptied at 8:05. I stumbled to the kitchen, dropped into a chair. The silence was too clean, too deliberate. No dishes in the sink, no shoes by the door. Her toothbrush was missing. I called, straight to voicemail, again and again. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just sat, and then I stood, walked to the safe behind the bookshelf, entered the code. The red folder was still there, labeled in her handwriting, "If you ever doubt me." I didn't open it. I just stared. That wasn't the folder I needed. Mine was blue, under my sock drawer, taped to the back of the dresser. I peeled it free with shaking hands. Plan B. She always called it your paranoia. Said it with a smile, half laughing. I'd written the documents when we got married. Financial backups, contact lists, passwords, lawyers. I thought I'd never need it. That folder weighed more than it should have. I called Ryan, my brother. He picked up on the second ring. "Yeah?" "She's gone," I said. "Took everything." The line went silent. "How much is left?" "Nothing." He exhaled. "Then we move. You want me to come over?" "No," I said. "Start with the lawyer. Jensen. I'll meet him in 2 hours." Click. I stood in the center of the living room, looking at the dent on the floor from where I'd dropped the lamp. I wasn't thinking about grief. I was calculating. A single hair was stuck to the back of the couch. Blonde. Her hair. I picked it off, rolled it between my fingers, and flicked it into the trash. I began to think back. When did it start? When exactly did the center crack? The buzzer rang. Delivery. Probably hers, ordered yesterday. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked to the mirror in the hallway. My face looked older than I remembered. There were lines I hadn't seen before. A note was taped to the glass. "I'm sorry, but I have to live for me now." I stared at it for a long time. The handwriting was too neat, like it had been written days ago. I took it down, tore it in half. Then again, and again. Then I whispered to no one. Where did it actually begin? I began to think, maybe it started a year ago, maybe longer. It was a Tuesday. I remember because she came home with white wine, even though she hated wine. Said a client gave it to her. That same night, she laughed too hard at her phone, then turned the screen away when I leaned in. "Just memes," she said. But the laugh stayed with me. Not what she laughed at, how. Like someone who'd just been seen. I didn't push then. Now I realize that was the first shadow on the wall. I watched people pass outside the window, joggers, dog walkers, neighbors who smiled but never asked questions. The world kept moving like nothing had been detonated. I walked back to the kitchen, opened the cabinet above the stove. Still there, a flash drive. She didn't know about it. I'd copied the tax files, the bank summaries, the business receipts. I plugged it into my laptop. There it was, a $15,000 transfer to a name I didn't recognize, Malcolm D. Byrne. Labeled as consulting. But we never hired a consultant. I searched the name. Nothing came up. Then I checked her Instagram. She'd unfollowed me 2 weeks ago. I found his name in her followers. And photos. Malcolm with her on a boat. Malcolm with her at a wine bar. Malcolm tagged in Tulum. In one shot, she wore the same necklace I gave her for our anniversary. The caption said, "Starting over with truth." I slammed the laptop shut, called Ryan again. "She's with someone named Malcolm D. Byrne," I said. "Let me guess," he said. "He's charming, talks big, sells dreams. You know him?" Ryan was quiet. Then, "I might. If it's the same Byrne, he's got a rep in Miami, real estate washout, smooth talker, known for flipping investors, not properties." "Perfect," I muttered. Ryan's voice tightened. "Listen, I'll run him. Meanwhile, you need to lock down any assets she forgot. Credit cards, pensions, anything in your name." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "I'm on it." I paused. "Thanks," I said. "For what?" "For not saying, 'I told you so.'" He didn't answer, just hung up. I sat again. The silence was different now, not clean, taunting. Like the apartment was holding its breath, waiting to see what kind of man I'd be next. And I wasn't sure yet. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat with the lights off, staring at the dark window where our reflections used to blur together. At 3:17 a.m., I began printing documents, old emails, statements, her calendar exports. I logged into the shared cloud. She hadn't changed the password yet. Rookie mistake. Inside a folder labeled Work, I found screenshots. PDFs. One in particular stopped me cold. An invoice for $48,000, addressed to Byrne and Associates, signed with her name, consulting fees. To my knowledge, she didn't consult on anything. She was a boutique interior designer, independent, no associates. I highlighted the date, 3 months ago, then cross-checked it with our withdrawals. That same day, she told me she'd had an emergency dental surgery. I even brought her soup. I picked up my phone, typed a message, then deleted it. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of confrontation. Not yet. Instead, I emailed Jensen, the lawyer. Subject: Urgent. Initiate Plan B. Full asset protection. His reply came at 5:12 a.m. Understood. Meeting at 9. Bring everything. By 8:30, I was downtown. The office smelled like leather and dust, reassuring. Jensen was already seated, sleeves rolled up. "You sure about this?" "She emptied our account," I said. "That enough?" He didn't nod. He didn't need to. Just handed me a folder. "These are the motions. We'll freeze any remaining joint assets. File for emergency injunction. You'll need to make a sworn declaration." "I will." He pushed his glasses up. "She's smart. If this was premeditated, she'll have covered her tracks." "I don't think she's that smart," I said, "but he might be." He paused. "Who?" "Malcolm D. Byrne." His mouth twitched. "You just ruined my morning." "You know him?" "Enough to know he's poison. He's been sued in 3 states. Fraud, racketeering, one sealed case we couldn't open." "He's with her now." Jensen exhaled. "Then this is bigger than divorce." I leaned back. "Tell me everything you can." He opened a drawer, pulled out a binder. "We may need to go federal." I said nothing, because in that moment, the idea of this being bigger than marriage, bigger than betrayal, didn't terrify me. It motivated me. That afternoon, Ryan and I met in the back booth of an old Cuban cafe. He dropped a flash drive on the table between us. "Byrne's shell companies, tax filings, 3 LLCs linked to your wife's maiden name. He's moving cash through her." I stared at it. "She knows?" I asked. Ryan shrugged. "Either she's the mark or the partner." I looked out the window. A child chased pigeons across the sidewalk. Chaos in miniature. Then I said, "I need a way in." Ryan leaned closer. "You don't want revenge. You want control. That's the difference." I didn't respond, because for the first time in years, I felt it in my bones. I wasn't asking to be saved. I was preparing to strike. A week passed. I kept my head down, my moves quiet. I transferred what little remained in my private retirement account to a hard asset. Silver bars tucked in a safe deposit box under a company name no one knew. Ryan called it overkill, but I wasn't building a wall. I was digging a tunnel. That Thursday, I followed the paper trail Jensen uncovered. Payments to consultants routed through offshore accounts. One caught my eye. A transfer of $70,000 to a firm registered in Belize. I checked the timestamp. It was the day after our 10th anniversary. That night, she cried in bed, told me she felt disconnected. I thought it was stress, work. Turns out, she was closing accounts while I planned a surprise trip to Iceland. I printed everything. A dossier was forming, not just for court, for leverage. The next day, I drove across town to a commercial building with no signage. Inside was a narrow office with fluorescent lights and peeling paint. My contact sat at a plastic desk. He wore jeans and a wedding ring. A quiet man, former IRS forensic analyst, now freelance. "You said you wanted to know what they're hiding," he said, sliding a laptop my way. The screen lit up with a flowchart of transactions, lines crisscrossing borders, names, dates. "She's complicit," he said. "Might have been manipulated at first, but now she's laundering, structuring deals. If this goes to court, they both go down." I stared at the screen. She was smiling in a Facebook post, Byrne's arm around her. Caption, "New beginnings." I looked away. "How soon can we act?" "Depends. You want exposure or silence?" I thought about that. The old me would have said silence, dignity, escape. Now? I wasn't sure. Later that night, I parked outside the gated house they shared. Different neighborhood. Higher ceilings. Pretend life. Through the window, I saw them at dinner. She poured him wine, laughed. He leaned in, whispered something. She touched his wrist. I didn't feel rage. I felt precision. I recorded it on my phone, her movements, her smile, time-stamped it, evidence. Next morning, Jensen filed the motion. Emergency hearing, financial restraining order. That same afternoon, the sheriff served Byrne at his office, papers in hand, surprise on his face. My wife tried to call me 10 minutes later. I let it ring. Then I blocked her number. The court hearing was set for Monday. By Sunday, the pressure cracked her facade. A message came through my lawyer's office. She wanted to talk. Said she was scared of what I might do, that she was misled. Byrne was different than he seemed. I told Jensen, let her stew. But I agreed to meet, on my terms. We arranged it at a neutral site, a private conference room at Jensen's firm. No legal counsel in the room, just her and me. She walked in wearing white, always white when she wanted to appear clean. The same trick she used the day she confessed an emotional affair 2 years ago. I didn't stand. She sat. For a while, we didn't speak. Then she said, "This wasn't how I wanted it to go." I looked at her. "No? You emptied our account and disappeared. What did you expect? Flowers?" She looked down. "He said we'd start a business. He said it was real." "It is real. He's really being audited. You're really named on fraudulent transfers." She flinched. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Not all of it. But enough." She leaned forward. "If you drop the case, I'll give back what I can. I just want this to end." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "This isn't about money anymore." She blinked. "Then what is it about?" I stood slowly, placed a folder on the table between us. Inside, screenshots, transactions, email threads, a photo of her and Byrne in Cartagena, dated during the week she told me she was with her mother in Ohio. She opened it, stared. "This is a courtesy," I said. "You'll be offered a deal tomorrow. Take it. testify against him, or burn with him. You're bluffing. I stepped closer. Am I? She looked up, and for the first time I saw it. Not regret, not sorrow, just calculation. She wasn't broken. She was assessing odds. That was all I needed. I walked out. Outside, the wind had picked up. A woman passed by with a child in a stroller. The child looked at me, curious, eyes wide. I thought of the man I'd been, who believed in promises, rings, dinner rituals, shared bank accounts. He was gone. And I didn't mourn him. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. No gallery, just hard chairs, cold light, and the clink of binders opening. She sat across from me, behind her attorney. Byrne wasn't present. His lawyer claimed health concerns. Convenient. The judge read through the emergency motions. Jensen stood, cool as frost. Your Honor, we have evidence the respondent, Mrs. E., conspired in the unlawful transfer of joint marital assets in coordination with Mr. Malcolm Byrne, currently under federal investigation for financial fraud across multiple jurisdictions. He dropped the flash drive on the table. The room went quiet. Her lawyer stammered. These are unverified, taken out of context. The judge raised a hand. We'll see. Then it was my turn. Sworn in. Questions. Timeline. Dates. I stayed steady. Precise. When asked why I filed the restraining order, I looked at her once, only once, and said, because I learned the person I trusted most viewed marriage as a financial strategy, not a partnership. She didn't flinch. Not this time. She just stared down at her shoes. By the second hour, her side crumbled. Evidence stacked too high. Emails, wire transfers, the Belize company. Then Jensen said, we offer a settlement. Immediate dissolution of all joint financial ties. Mr. E retains his pension, retirement, vehicle, and intellectual property rights. Mrs. E forfeits claim on all pending business assets, including those under the name of Mr. Byrne. Silence. Her lawyer asked for a recess. They huddled. She was speaking rapidly, gesturing. Her hands fluttered like they used to when she lied. 20 minutes later, they returned. We accept. The judge nodded. Then it is ordered. The gavel sounded. That was it. She never looked at me again. Outside the courthouse, Jensen clapped my shoulder. You're clear as the law can make you. What you do now, that's yours. I nodded. Later that night, I packed a single suitcase. Clothes, laptop, documents. I left the keys on the counter. No note, no message, just absence. The apartment echoed as I closed the door. For the first time in years, I felt something close to silence. Not the silence of loss, the silence of space. I moved east, small town near the coast, rented a place with thin walls and creaky floors, nothing like the condo we shared, and that was the point. I started waking early, walking to the docks, watching old fishermen drink black coffee and tell stories nobody interrupted. They nodded when I passed, didn't ask where I came from. I liked that. I taught myself to cook again. Real meals. Burned the first few, but got better. There was something clean about feeding myself quietly, without performance. I didn't follow her online, didn't Google Byrne, didn't ask Jensen for updates, even when I knew indictments were coming. I didn't care. She'd made her choice, and so had I. One morning, I found a letter in the mailbox. No return address. Just my name in her handwriting. I didn't open it. I set it on the counter, made coffee, and watched the sun hit the linoleum just right. The old me would have needed closure. The man I'd become preferred peace. That night, I stood by the water, listening to waves slap the pier. No thoughts, no plans. Just the quiet knowing. I'd chosen myself, finally. Not revenge, not rescue, just value.